Big thank you to Phoenix. I'm Trinity with Revolution LA. We want to thank all of you guys for coming to our Revolutionary Gathering today. And big thank you to the Good Weekend for letting us share the space with them at the French Marketplace for their very cool, very innovative new concept of social good marketplace. And as Phoenix talked about, the idea of conscious economics is something we definitely believe in as a transition to a more evolved society. We need to begin to inject a higher level of consciousness and an ethical framework to our economics so that we can create a new economic system that's inherently based on the needs of the people rather than profit. Now, many of you guys have joined us on Meetup. You've attended meetings, and some of you are new and you're here today, but you're all here today because you've awakened, you've opened your eyes to see the realities of what we're faced with today. And from decades of stagnant wages, loss of jobs, student debt that continues to skyrocket, we're also faced with a glooming global climate catastrophe, systemic racism, and military culture, a permanent military culture that continues to place wars and destruction over education and healthcare, and on top of that, we're faced with the greatest economic disparity since the 1930s Great Depression. So all of those factors combined make it very apparent that change is urgently needed. So we are faced with an economic urgency to not only address, but to fix the imbalance between wealth and power. And that's a conversation that the Occupy movement started in 2011, and then was reignited by Bernie Sanders through his campaign, and as Dan spoke about, Bernie has done a tremendous job at bringing core economic concerns to an entirely new generation of young people. So now it's up to us as the millennial generation to continue that fight. Because if you've been paying attention to the current political climate, this has been one of the most divisive, one of the most volatile election cycles in history, and we're faced with an anti-establishment move that's erupting from both the right and the left. And what we're seeing is that the more that people awaken, the more that people demand change, the shakier the grounds a two-sided establishment stands on. So in a political system that's rigged, as was obviously just exposed by the DNC leaks, it's rigged to favor those with wealth and power. It's controlled by those with the globalist, corporatist, imperialist, militarist agenda. And what that says, one thing that it says makes it very apparent for us that we need to figure out new ways to create change outside of the two-party system. Now is the time for us to figure out how to create grassroots community organizing that directly addresses the needs of our people outside of the political establishment. So it's a critical time right now for all you Bernie supporters, for all the people of Bernie's revolution, to join forces with progressives to fight that fight on the ground. And this is about taking the macro revolution, the 13-point agenda, taking macro and going at a micro level. This is about going local, working at a local level to create grassroots, community-led, community-controlled organizations that directly addresses and fixes the needs of the people in our communities. This is about taking the 13-point agenda, which are big, macro, structural platforms, breaking it down, figuring out how to implement these ideas, these values on a local level. If we want to tackle predatorial big banks, we educate and move our people into credit unions and not-for-profit banking. If we want to create an educational revolution, we can help create intuitively positive spaces. We can create after-school programs for disadvantaged children. We can get involved in cooperatives, business-owned cooperatives, and we can promote local businesses that practice ethical, sustainable methods. We can create community gardens that generate clean, organic food supply so that we don't have to depend on large monolithic food corporations. We can go in and repurpose vacant lots so that we can create affordable housing for the homeless and for people in lower economic brackets. These are examples of how to create a micro-revolution, and the idea behind the micro-revolution is revolutionizing the concept of community service. It's community service, but with a tactical operations plan. It's community service with strategy, with coordination that's revolutionary minded. And that is And that is, in my opinion, that is the evolution of revolution, is taking those big macro revolution ideas and going into direct action into our neighborhoods, on the ground, in the streets, in our neighborhoods, in our communities, working directly to create change, because that is the important part in building, in creating the groundwork for a new evolved society that's based on economic equality, that's based on universal human rights, that's based on environmental sustainability, that's based on equal access for all. Woo! Now, woo! It's a mile a minute. So some of you guys are new, so I'm going to quickly go through our community education efforts. Within the last year, we've been dedicated to creating collective collaborative spaces for people in the community. We created the Vanguard, which is a studio for intellectual self-defense, and that's based on getting people in the community together to talk about very social, economic issues. We also created Propaganda Film Series, a play on word of propaganda, and where we showcase various groundbreaking films. And the aim of that is to use film as a tool for education so that we can combat mainstream media propaganda. So coming up next is our propaganda event on August 20th next month. We're super excited. We just got the approval from Michael Moore to screen his latest film, Where to Invade Next. And it's an unbelievable film. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely, make sure you grab the flyer. Because Where to Invade Next, it's not about invading a country for its land, for its resources, for its oil. It's about invading a country and getting the best, most socially responsible ideas and taking them back to America to really make this country great again. So, yeah, and so, it's a mind-opening film. So that's coming up next. Also, coming up next is our community building project, and this loops back to what I was just discussing about taking macro revolution ideas and implementing it on the ground, creating direct action in our communities. For the past year, we've worked with a really awesome nonprofit called Urban Partners LA, and they offer free education programs and math tutoring classes for underprivileged kids. And they teach these classes out of a dark, dingy basement classroom in a church in Koreatown. And so we want to embark on a remodel project, go in there and transform the space from something that's dark and dingy to something that's bright, beautiful, and a positive spaces for these kids to learn. Because ultimately, it doesn't take a president and it doesn't take policies for us to be able to create real action in our communities. It's ultimately up to us. So if you want to get involved in this, we have a sign-up list there. Gabby's holding it up, where that's going to be our first community building project, the first of many, so we're very excited. And that's the type of momentum that we need to continue building in order to create the revolution. This is about creating revolution in Los Angeles. This is about getting people, ideas, energy. We need energy, we need people with ideas, we need as much vibrancy as we can to be able to generate the ideas that will start a new revolution. So if you guys haven't read our 13-point agenda, check it out, because it sets the basic structural foundation for creating a new society based on a human rights framework. And this is evolving as we evolve. But in order to create a revolution, you have to educate yourself so that you can be an asset, because you can't fix something until you understand what's broken. So educate yourself, get involved, stay in touch. We're constantly doing events every month, and we look forward to building the revolution with you guys. Thank you.
You want me to say anything else?
Yeah, just wrap it up.
So now Isaiah's gonna come talk. Do you want to come talk? No? What do you want to say? What do you want to say? So he's a Trump fan, so we're not a huge fan of Isaiah. No, thank you guys. So yeah, hang around. Is there any questions about anything? I mean, we're not getting into policy stuff, but just about the mechanics of Rev LA. Yes?
Like what's on the website as far as, is it broken down in terms of these different initiatives? Are there a mailing list for each individual one? What are tangible
As
next
far
steps
as the
you think
13-point agenda?
I mean the specific community initiatives that you mentioned. You mentioned the intellectual self-defense. Is there a mailing list for each one?
Totally, man.
Well, we have a general Revolution LA mailing list that
Okay.
every month we send out a mailing list that includes past events, a summary of past events, and then also updates you on what's coming up next. Max.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so
We didn't sign up.
the community building event, we're gonna put together a mailing list of people so that we can break down what needs to be done in the classroom basement,
Okay.
and structure we create project managers for each of those, and because we want this to be a highly structured, highly organized
Yep.
Right.
thing. If we want to create the groundwork for something bigger, it needs to be highly organized. And so we created a mailing list so that we can break down and approach it with a tactical operations mind frame.
Perfect.
Because we're here to revolutionize community organizing. Because as it exists right now, it's isolated efforts, and so we need to be able to unify that into something with a big revolutionary framework.
Totally. And let me say something on that point. I just started coming to Rev LA meetings about 6 or 7 months ago. So, and I never had gone to a protest in my life, and I didn't really understand the mechanics of how it worked. But as I've really just immersed myself in so much of this, it's education. It's about things change when a bunch of people kind of are aware of these same issues, right? Do you remember when littering used to be kind of okay when we were kids? I remember that, and then all of a sudden there was all this consciousness. Same with smoking, obviously now we know it's not healthy. So that's obviously our first step is educating ourselves. But I would encourage all of you. I emailed Trinity like a few weeks ago, and it's been there the whole time. The Rev LA website is rad, and it's really got a lot of good materials. There's a lot of articles and links, because I think that the first step is coalescing and making sure that we're all on the same page, right? That's very important for the strength of our movement, that we're all we're all on the same page, we're all kind of on message. That sounds super creepy, but you know what I mean, right? So I would encourage you all to go there, but yes, everything is emailed, and we disseminate stuff that way. And not all meetings are like this. This is the fun space here. Usually meetings have different forms. Like I said, there's documentary days. We have times where it's like it's usually an open discussion. So we just had people talk today. Don't think that your voices are never heard. That's not an event. So yeah. Any other questions about kind of the mechanics? Yeah.
Is Rev LA a 501c3?
Is it 501c3?
No, it's not.
It's not?
Because to be a 501c3, to be a nonprofit, you have to work under certain regulations, which means you can't get involved in, for example, government. You can't get involved. You can't support political parties. Your political, your participation in politics is limited. So if we wanted to go through that route, we're really limited.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the church where the classes are held?
The church is.
Okay.
Yeah, the Unitarian Church. We meet at the Unitarian Church. We meet, and Answer is one of our allies, and we meet in their office. We're not.
No, as far as getting donations for that revamp, that's something you guys
need to figure out.
Yeah, so like as long as you can get that information and make it.
Yeah, for the classroom basement project, yeah, we would definitely be able to use the church's 501c3.
Yeah.
For
FYI.
yeah.
Great question. What about you?
Alex, you're definitely a project manager on that.
I would just like to have something.
Because you said you had perfect connection.
I've been with
Home Depot.
Can I talk for a second?
Yeah.
So, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh,
No. I mean, the Rev LA website is really awesome. I've been here for about a year, and I really encourage people to have a forum set up, right? Yeah. And I really encourage people to everybody here is showing up. You're smart. You have something to say. And I encourage people to add posts, to put things up, to put out their ideas, to put out their questions, to put out propositions. We all need to just put stuff together, and we all grow richer because of it.
Absolutely. Amen. Perfectly stated. You got anything else? And then obviously everybody talk. There's a lot of interesting people here, and that's kind of the point. It feels awkward at first, but I promise it's good. Any other quick questions? Ready to go?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
There's coffee over there. Hang out. I know it's not cold as mingle.